Alright, what's going on, man? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Ron. Today I'm looking a little bit crispier than usual. You know, we got a nice fade. My girl Jess.
Soldier.
You know, down in the comments, let me know. Is it clean? Is it clean? I don't know. Today, we got our tier 3 running back rankings, man. It's going to be a little bit more dicey, a little bit more controversial than the last two. Let's cut all the bullshit aside, man. Let's get straight into it, baby. First up, we got a bit of a controversial one, man. According to Fantasy Pros .5 PPR ADP, this running back's going in the middle of third rounds as the 15th running back off the board. I have him as my RB10, and I take him somewhere in the middle of the second round, man. That's my guy CEH. The guy's a stud. When you look at it, he had 55 catches last year in the LSU offense. I know it was high-powered, but he had receivers like Thaddeus Moss, Terrace Marshall, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, who just went in the first round. He had all these guys to compete with, and he had 55 catches out of the backfield in the SEC. That's more than Alvin Kamara had, and he's probably, right after Christian McCaffrey, one of the best receiving backs in the league. When you put that together with his 128.7 burst score in the 89th percentile, he kind of profiles as a Mark Ingram with elite burst and insane pass catching ability. Now, everyone's going to want to point at, oh, he was just a product of LSU's high-powered offense. Well, now he's going into another super high-powered offense. Kansas City, obviously, the number one offense in the league. Give me the running back that's going to have Patrick Mahomes this year, man. Just give me that running back. As well as having Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid always has studs in his RB1 spot. When you look at it, since 1999, and you pull the .5 PPR points per game from each running back that Andy Reid has had since 1999, the average Andy Reid running back has 17.4 points per game in .5 PPR leagues. 17.4 would have been the RB6 in fantasy points per game last year. I don't think CEH is going to be a complete carbon copy of what Kareem Hunt was in Kansas City, but I think it's going to be pretty close. A lot of guys are scared of Damian Williams. Damian Williams, kind of a bum. He was undrafted. He had under 500 rushing yards last year. I think they drafted CEH in the first round to be that guy. Andy Reid has taken running backs like Kareem Hunt and LaShawn McCoy in the third round, not a day 2 pick. This is a guy that Andy Reid and that whole organization is putting their trust in to be a huge threat coming out of that backfield, number 32 overall. You don't use a first round pick on a running back and not use him unless he gets hurt. So when you look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he's in a crazy offense. He's going to catch a lot of balls. There's going to be a bunch of scoring opportunities. And I'm honestly tempted to move him up even higher than he is right now at the RB10 spot. All right, next up we have Josh Jacobs. He's my RB11, and he's going at the 112 in redraft leagues as the 8th running back off the board. He's a safe option, but not one that I love. You'll see I'm a little bit lower on these next running backs at the end of the tier as opposed to ADP. I'll take them at value, but none of these guys are guys I'm reaching on or guys that I'm thrilled to have in my running back 1 spot. Look at Josh Jacobs. Probably his biggest pro is that he's an extremely safe option. He's going to lead the Raiders in touches. He was 3rd in rushing yards per game, and he was a safe option all year. He finished as an RB2 or better in 7 of his 13 games. My favorite part of Josh Jacobs is that he's a sneaky bet to lead the league in rushing yards. If I was you, I'd make it rain a little bit of cash on that player future to lead the league in rushing. He's going to have around probably 1,300, 1,400 yards and could really shoot for something crazy this year. I know Gruden's going to want to stick the ball in his stomach, but the problem with Gruden, and I really don't believe in Gruden as some kind of offensive guru with the Spider 2Y banana nonsense. They're not scoring a lot of touchdowns, and they're not giving him a lot of passes, man. When you look at it, they were bottom 10 in scoring, and as much as they drafted around them, there's still a lot of young guys. Year 1 receivers aren't going to go crazy. So I wouldn't expect this offense to take a huge leap forward in 2020. Maybe in 2021 or 2022, we could see something better from the Oakland Raiders. Maybe they get a better quarterback, who knows. But the biggest problem is that Josh Jacobs only had 20 catches last year, and even when you factor in the games that he missed, he was only on pace for about 24. Now you can look at DeAndre Washington and see that he's not on the team anymore and think that maybe that opens up some opportunity for Josh Jacobs. But I think that them drafting Lynn Bowden and signing Jalen Richard to an extension means that Josh Jacobs' passing game role is going to be limited. Not as limited as it was last year, but I would be super surprised if Josh Jacobs topped 35 catches next year. So for me, I'll take him as a back end RB1, but that's about it. Alright, man, this next one pains me to say. I hate that Nick Chubb is my RB12. In my opinion, the guy's a top 3 pure running back in terms of between the tackles running with guys like Ezekiel Elliott and Derrick Henry. He was a first-team All-Pro according to Pro Football Focus last year, but the problem is Kareem Hunt. He has a stud in his backfield, and he's gonna see a dip in workload because of it. Right now, Nick Chubb is going at the 201 as the RB9 in fantasy drafts. I wouldn't really touch him unless if he's at the 2-3 turn, which I don't think he'll be falling to me. I don't have Nick Chubb on any of my best ball teams right now, and I think he's going to be a guy that I rarely have on my teams. But for good reason, man. If you look at his splits with and without Kareem Hunt, they're extremely concerning, man. Nick Chubb's receptions went from 50 to 22, from 64 targets to 36, and from 322 receiving yards to 234. In that 8-game stretch with Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb was the RB21 in .5 PPR points per game. Now, you can't project him as the RB21 due to his skill level and rushing upside. His situation is going to be much improved this year. Kevin Stefanski will give him more touches than he was given last year. Kevin Stefanski, as we know, he was ranked 4th in run-to-pass ratio last year, and the offense is going to improve as a whole, man. We're going to have my boy, hold your nuts, Baker Mayfield, slinging the football in year 3. We're going to have OBJ in year 2 of this offense, and I think it's going to really start to gel, especially because they just added 2 new offensive tackles in Jack Conklin and Jedrick Willis, man. The offense is going to take a step forward. Nick Chubb will get more carries, and he had really bad touchdown luck last year, man. He was top 3 in goal line carries, and I think he only had 3 touchdowns from inside the 5. All right, next up, man, we got Aaron Jones. He's going off the board at the 203 as the RB10 in fantasy leagues right now, but I have him as my RB13. So I'm lower on him than consensus, just like everybody else. But I can see the hype around him. You know, he finishes the RB4 in points per game last year, and he went crazy. But in 2020, we have to project what he's going to do this season without getting too caught up in what he did last year. Last year, he had 19 touchdowns total. Regression's coming for him. There's no way he repeats with 19 touchdowns. That number's going to come down to probably somewhere in the 8 to 11 range. You can't project him to be a touchdown scoring machine again. And with that, we have the Green Bay front office, man. They draft A.J. Dillon in the 2nd round. Now, this is a big 247-pound back, man. A.J. Dillon's going to get some of that goal line work, and I wouldn't be shocked if we see Aaron Jones have less than 200 carries this year, man. Jamal Williams had 107 carries last year, and when you look at it, A.J. Dillon's gonna hover somewhere maybe around 102, and we're going to see Aaron Jones come back down, and he might have somewhere in that 180 carries range. And the game scripts won't be as friendly. Last year, they had the number 7 best game scripts, and that was largely because they outperformed their schedule and their record, man. The Green Bay Packers weren't as good as the 13-3 team that they were last year, and we saw that when they got steamrolled by the 49ers last year, man. They were 13-3 last year, and their over-under is set for 9 this year. So there's not going to be as many games where they're going to have Aaron Rodgers sit back and just hand the ball off to Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, all of their backs in the backfield. And he was leaned on because of Davante Adams' injury. In the 4 games that Davante Adams was out, the splits are huge, man. When you look at it, he goes from averaging 15.52 half PPR points to 27. His receptions double, his targets double. He pretty much turns into the wide receiver 1 when Davante Adams is hurt. But if we're expecting Davante Adams to play a full season, and we're expecting Aaron Jones to get less volume because of the A.J. Dillon draft pick, then that's a really scary running back that people are depending on as their RB1, man. All right, man, the last running back we got today is Austin Ekeler. He's going off the board at the 211 as the RB12 in fantasy leagues right now, and he's my RB14. So he's not a guy I hate taking in that range. I'm just slightly lower on him than consensus. Now, some guys are super high on him because they saw they saw the 4 weeks where Melvin Gordon wasn't playing and expect Ekeler to play that exact same way. In those weeks, when you look at it, Ekeler far surpassed what he was doing with Melvin Gordon in the backfield. He was on pace for 100 targets, 1,080 receiving yards. He was getting more touchdowns, more carries, and in that span of games, he was the RB2 behind just C-Mac. So if you had Austin Ekeler, who was getting drafted in the middle rounds last year for those first 4 weeks, you most likely went 4-0. But I think people are a little bit too optimistic with the touch squeeze after Melvin Gordon's departure. The Chargers just drafted Josh Kelly in the 4th round, and they have Justin Jackson behind him, who's another guy we've seen flash. I think they take most of the touches that are vacated by Melvin Gordon, and Austin Ekeler stays in that same kind of role. At 5'9", 199 pounds, Austin Ekeler's not going to be a bell cow. He doesn't have that kind of size, and that's not his game. And in addition to that, Ekeler, he's due for major touchdown regression. He scored 8 receiving touchdowns last year, and now is up there with guys like Amari Cooper and the upper echelon of receivers. In terms of running backs, he was first and by a mile. He had 8 receiving touchdowns, and second on that list was Mark Ingram with 5. So Ekeler is going to see less touchdowns, and he's going to see less targets. Mobile quarterbacks don't target running backs. It's pretty much a fact. When you look at it, the top 5 rushing quarterbacks last year targeted their running backs on 15% of passes. Last year, the LA Chargers targeted their running backs on 29% of passes, so almost double rushing quarterbacks. The Chargers just drafted Justin Herbert, a guy who runs a 4.6 and runs the ball, and Tyrod Taylor. These are both mobile quarterbacks who won't be targeting the running back. Now, am I saying that it's going to go from 29% target share to 15? No, it's probably going to meet somewhere in the middle, but he's going to see less targets. He's going to see probably the same amount of carries, and he's going to score less touchdowns. So a guy who's not in a bell cow role is a guy I have a hard time trusting as a RB1 like his ADP says. All right, man, if you made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. While you're here, man, subscribe, drop a like, leave a comment. I reply to all of them. Let me know how you feel about these rankings, man. I'm going to be dropping the draft guide really soon with these tiers, along with wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks. It's all coming really soon. Look out for that. Early July. Follow me at Ron Stewart _, man. And I'll see you in the next one.